Hello everybody, welcome back to Making It Up. I'm Isa and it is yet again time to talk about books. This month I got into a little bit more reading than I was expecting. I just started reading a lot, which is always a good thing for me. I love it. So I read a few more books than my goal for the month, which was 2 books. And I also got into some exciting content. I know last month wasn't as exciting. This month I got into some exciting content and I'm excited to share it with you guys. As always, I have some fiction, I have some non-fiction for you, a little bit of everything, and yeah, that's basically it. Let's get into talking about books, shall we? Up first, I have Brand Thinking and Other Noble Pursuits by Debbie Millman. This is a book that I saw at the bookstore and I was very intrigued by it. I didn't buy it the first time I saw it, and then the second time I was like, what the heck, let's bite the bullet. I'm always very interested in branding and what makes brands and people, brands and people. So I was very excited to read this book and it felt a little short, I must say. This is a book where the author, Debbie Millman, she interviews some of the most known names in design and branding. So it's basically just a lot of mini interviews with a lot of different people, which is kind of interesting. Everyone talks about different things and they all have different points of view. So I did learn a little bit, but it got into design a lot. And I know branding and design kind of go hand in hand, but I wanted it to be more about branding than design, and it wasn't, unfortunately. And it's also a book that's a little bit dated. I think it was published in the early 2010s. So it is a pretty old book, but let me just read you guys what this is about, just in case you guys are interested and want to know more. The notion of the brand, like any concept that dominates markets and public consciousness, is a challenge to define. Is it a simple differentiator of the cereals in our cupboards, a manipulative brainwashing tool forced on us by corporations, or a creative triumph as capable as any art form of stimulating our emotions and intellect? For those of us who grapple with these questions on a daily basis, Brand Thinking and Other Noble Pursuits elevates the discussion to the level of revelation. Each chapter is an extensive dialogue between Debbie Millman, herself a design visionary, and different leaders in the field. By asking questions deeply informed by her own expertise, Millman coaxes lucid, prescient answers from 22 interview subjects, among them Malcolm Gladwell, Tom Peters, Seth Godin, and godfather of modern branding, Wally Ollins. This engaging and enlightening book is an unprecedented forum of the state of modern branding and how companies and consumers can best understand the behaviors behind why we brand and why we build. Based on this, it sounds amazing. It sounds like it's gonna be a great book, which it's not a bad book. It's just not what I was expecting, and it's not what I wanted. It's not what I was looking for. And again, it's a little bit dated. Maybe that's the reason why. Not one I would recommend though. Onto a book that I actually recommend, and I would recommend blindly. This is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six in January, reviewed them, and now it was time to get back into it, and this book is a masterpiece. It's all I'm gonna say. Let me read the little excerpt to you, and then I can get into why I fucking love this book so much. From the New York Times bestselling author of Daisy Jones and the Six, 4 famous siblings throw an epic party to celebrate the end of the summer. But over the course of 24 hours, their lives will change forever. Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end-of-summer party, and anticipation is at a fervor pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel. Brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister, Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu, and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention and who has also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro-tennis player husband. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it is long past time for him to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. Jay, on the other hand, is counting the minutes until nightfall, when the girl he can't stop thinking about promised she'll be there. And Kit has a couple secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before that first spark in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family's generations will all come rising to the surface. Malibu Rising is a story about one unforgettable night in the life of a family. The night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind. I mean, I'm sorry. I love this book so much. So this is basically a book centered around the Riva family, the 4 siblings. And it kind of has this like part where it focuses on the parents' backstory. If you read Seven Husbands and Daisy Jones and the Six, you might recognize the name Mick Riva or Riva or Riva. I don't know. But he was also in those books. So the worlds are intertwining and I love that. But yeah, it's kind of like the backstory of how the family started, how the parents met, the trajectory of their life. And on the other hand is the story of the siblings surrounding the event, the party. I read this book in less than 24 hours. Taylor Jenkins Reid is notorious for making me want to read her books really quickly, but this is a book that I read the quickest. It's amazing. It's insane. I laughed. I cried a lot. Like, this is so... she just has a way with words. Her stories are unreal. I really hope she never stops writing because I would die. Her books are like a drug to me. And this is probably like, I think it's my second favorite. Or I don't know if it could become my favorite after The Seven Husbands. But this is so good. I recommend it 100%. If you love Taylor Jenkins Reid and you haven't read this book, you need to. It's so good. Up next, I have another Taylor Jenkins Reid book. This is one of her older books. This is When True Loves. This is a novel. Let me read to you guys what this is about. In her 20s, Emma Blair marries her high school sweetheart, Jesse. They build a life for themselves, far away from the expectations of their parents and the people of their hometown in Massachusetts. They travel the world together. Emma is a freelance writer, Jesse is a production assistant on nature documentaries, living life to the fullest and seizing every opportunity for adventure. On their first wedding anniversary, Jesse is on an assignment in the Aleutian Islands, where his helicopter goes missing over the Pacific. Just like that, Jesse's gone forever. Emma quits her job and moves home in an effort to put her life back together. Years later, now in her 30s, Emma runs into an old friend, Sam, and finds herself falling in love again. When Emma and Sam get engaged, it feels like Emma's second chance at happiness. That is, until Jesse is found. He's alive and he's been trying to come home to her all these years. Emma now has a husband and a fiancé. But who is her one true love? And what does it even mean to love truly? Emma knows she has to listen to her heart. She's just not sure what it's saying. This is basically one of the more like, I feel like all her books are kind of love stories in a sense, but they're like masked with other things happening. It's not just about love. This one truly is like a romance novel, and it was good. Honestly, not my favorite book. This is my least favorite book from hers that I've read. I think it's one of her older ones, but the story was still nice. It felt a little bit fan fiction-y to me at points, and that's not a bad thing. It's just I've gotten so used to her stories, like her newer stories, and I feel like she's obviously evolved as a writer. And it's just basically the story of Emma, the main character, battling with loving 2 people at once. If you're into romance and love and stuff, but you're also looking for a storyline that's fresh, this might be a good book for you. It's a nice one, depending on what you like. That's what I'll say about this one. Last but not least, I have Wanting, The Power of Mimetic Desire in Everyday Life by Luke Burgess. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm leaving it down below as always. All the links will be down below. But this is more like a self-help book. It isn't very self-helpy. It doesn't feel self-helpy. But let me just read the excerpt for a second and then I'll get into it. A groundbreaking exploration of why we want what we want and a toolkit for freeing ourselves from chasing unfulfilling desires. Gravity affects every aspect of our physical being, but there's a psychological force just as powerful, and almost nobody has heard of it. It's responsible for bringing groups of people together and pulling them apart, making certain goals attractive to some and not to others, and fueling cycles of anxiety and conflict. In Wanting, Luc Burgess draws on the work of French polymath René Girard to bring this hidden force to light and reveal how it shapes our lives and societies. According to Girard, humans don't desire anything independently. Human desire is mimetic. We imitate what other people want. This affects the way we choose partners, friends, careers, clothes, and vacation destinations. Mimetic desire is responsible for the formation of our very identities. It explains the enduring relevance of Shakespeare's plays, why Peter Thiel decided to be the first investor in Facebook, and why our world is growing more divided as it becomes more connected. Wanting also shows that conflict does not arise because of our differences. It comes from our sameness. Because we learn to want what other people want, we often end up competing for the same things. Ignoring our large similarities, we cling to our perceived differences. Drawing on his experience as an entrepreneur, teacher, and student of classical philosophy and theology, Burgess shares tactics that help turn blind wanting into intentional wanting, not by trying to rid ourselves of desire, but by desiring differently. It's possible to be more in control of the things we want, to achieve more independence from trends and bubbles, and to find more meaning in our work and lives. The future will be shaped by our desire. wanting shows us how to desire a better one. This book, it came to me as a complete, like, it was a spontaneous thing. I didn't order this. I wasn't gifted it. Someone in my house, someone in my family ordered this book, and then he forgot he ordered it, but the title looked really interesting, so I decided I wanted to read it, and I finally got the time and space to read this book, and it is really, really, really good. Just ignore the bookmark. Someone else is reading it now, but this book is amazing. From what you heard, it's a book about mimetic desire, which is an old concept that was completely new to me, and I was very intrigued by it from the second I started reading it because it's so cool. I don't know if it's cool, but it's just such like a shocking thing, like a shocking revelation that our desires come from other people's desires, and like we're influenced by other people in our culture so much. Like, I already knew that to a point, but it's literally ingrained into our beings. This book flawlessly explains that. It is very informative, not in like a snobby way. It's easy to read. The first part talks about obviously mimetic desire, and it also explains how it can affect us negatively, how we can identify it in our lives, and then the second part of the book explains how we can use mimetic desire to create and desire and live the life we want to live. So it kind of switches that like negative connotation to a positive connotation. But I think this is a great book for anyone to read, especially if you're into manifestation and stuff like that. I know that can sound super wishy-washy to some people, but I understand it, and I understand the power of it. This is a book that can give you tools to help you manifest better and like actually manifest the things you want, or, you know, just simply not living the life that you think you want because other people live. It was very eye-opening to me. It's literally something that came to me by chance, and I recommend it. I recommend it 100%. I told you guys that this month was gonna be way more exciting than last month, and it totally was. At least in my perspective, it was more fun and exciting. That's a wrap on today's video. If you have any book recommendations or any books you've been reading that you're loving, please let me know down below, because I'm actually out of books to read, and I need to fill the list, fill the cart, buy the books so that I can read a lot more exciting stuff in April. So any recommendations that you have, leave them down below. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please like. It helps me out a lot. And if you're into super easy and real makeup and beauty content and book content once a month, then please make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope you had fun. I always have fun reviewing and talking about books with you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you right here next week. Bye, everybody. Mwah.